Hi everybody, thank you for watching and joining me today. Today we're going to talk about contract disputes, which is one of the hottest topics around real estate. Why do we go under contract? First of all, we go under contract to hold both parties liable for performing what they said they were going to do. So that's number one thing. And most disputes happen around dates. Why do they happen around dates? Well, because one of the parties doesn't perform and the other party gets upset. Well, there are other reasons why contract disputes happen, but let's just go over dates. The first thing that should happen when you go under contract and all of the signatures and initials have been set into place is the EMD, which is the deposit. The deposit is due normally within a time frame that is written specifically under contract. If the buyer does not give a deposit within that time frame, guess what? They're already in default. Second date that happens is the inspection period. If the buyer performs the inspection within the inspection period, but then fails to request any repairs within the inspection period, then guess what? They're out of time. So if they're out of time, what happens is that they no longer have the right to make a request, but they still can make it. And it is the seller's choice to move forward or not, or start over with a new contract. The third thing that happens is the appraisal. So the appraisal is normally ordered within a certain amount of time. And what happens is that sometimes it doesn't, if you don't specify on the contract, it doesn't get ordered until almost closing. And if it doesn't appraise, that can throw the whole deal away. Now, the next thing that happens is the mortgage contingency period, which is normally 30 days. Now, this is a big one. That means your lender, the lender for the buyer, has to do or give a loan commitment within that certain amount of time. So let's say it's 30 days. If you don't receive the loan commitment and you're a buyer or a seller, if you don't receive the loan commitment within 30 days, that time has expired. If the buyer gets denied after the 30-day period, they're out of their deposit, or they could go into disputes of the deposit because they got denied after the period. So I recently had a case, it actually happened yesterday, where we extended the closing date, but the buyer's agent did not extend the mortgage contingency period. So that had expired within 30 days. We only extended the closing day. So what happened is that when we got the cancellation, the buyer was requesting to receive all of their deposit. And we said no. Why? Well, first of all, it was $10,000, and my seller had waited patiently for 45 days to close, and they're out nothing because the buyer couldn't perform. They couldn't get a loan. Well, because the mortgage contingency period was expired within 30 days and we didn't extend that part, technically we're in limbo. What happens after that is that the buyer and seller can go after each other for that $10,000 deposit. It is a process of dispute that is handled by the title company. You could go to mediation, arbitration, all of that fun stuff for escrow disputes. But in this case, it could be held over a very long period of time. The courts or the judge can decide or rule against one person or another person, depending on how they feel that day. Even though it's black and white and the contract clearly states the time frames, you never know what people are going to do and what judges are going to do and how they're going to rule. So the best thing to do in this scenario is when there are disputes over deposits is to try to come to an agreement. Most of the time, splitting the deposit is something that both parties are willing to do. Not all the time they're willing to do that. Sometimes the brokers have under the contracts or the listing agreements that they keep part of that deposit for the work already performed during that contract. Even though the home gets to be resold again, it doesn't necessarily happens that it always goes to one party. In this case, my seller ended up with $5,000. The buyer ended up with $5,000. Neither one of them is happy, but they both, get something. In the case of my seller, they have to pay the mortgage for 2 more months, so it's only fair. They had to pay the utilities. They had to pay a bunch of expenses that they were not calculating because of the buyer's non-performance. In the buyer's side, I feel bad, obviously, because they, nobody plans to being denied a loan, and they were heartbroken, and they, lost $5,000. But This is the things that you have to deal with when you are requesting for a loan. Make sure that your lender is within that time period, or make sure that your realtor is requesting an extension for the loan contingency period. And that way you protect yourself if you're a buyer or if you're a seller. You know, and in my case, I protected my seller to fight for that deposit for them. So they got some compensation for it. So I hope this helps. If you like this kind of content, please consider liking this video, sharing this video so other people can see it and learn all the ins and outs from real estate. Thank you again. Until next time.